poem number 7, The Duck and the Kangaroo. You are well familiar with duck as well as kangaroo. Duck is a bird that lives in the watery area as well as on the land, on the ground. While kangaroo is an animal that keeps on jumping and moving around many places. So in this poem, the poet brings out the conversation between the duck and the kangaroo. It is a conversation that is written in the form of poem. So let's read out the stanza number 1. Said the duck to the kangaroo, "Good gracious, how you hope over the fields and the waters too, as if you never would stop. My life is bored in this nasty pond, and I long to go out in the world beyond. I wish I could hope like you," said the duck to the kangaroo. Now this is something that is spoken by duck to kangaroo. And in this stanza, the duck speaks to kangaroo and addresses the kangaroo as good gracious. And the duck says, "Good gracious kangaroo, how you hope." Now hope is an action word that shows us an action of jumping. If you have ever seen a kangaroo, it would hope or it would always jump. So the question is asked by the duck. The duck asks, "How you hope, gracious kangaroo, over the fields and the waters too." Now these are places where it hops around, where it jumps around. It hops over the fields, it jumps over the water bodies, and it seems that the kangaroo is not going to stop. It will keep on jumping and hopping over the fields and the water. So it seems to the duck that the kangaroo would never ever stop hopping or jumping over the fields and the water bodies. And now the duck compared its life with the life of the kangaroo. The duck says that my life is a boat in this nasty pond. Now you see, about the life of a duck is confined within a limited space or area. You might have observed this. A duck would never go far beyond areas. It will always stay nearby the watery area. It lives in the pond. And this made the duck to think that its life has become disgusting and boring. Why? It's because it cannot go around the places, it cannot go beyond the places, and it seemed to him that the pond wherein it lives has become nasty, a place that is, boring, a place that is disgusting. And what is the internal wish or desire of pond, desire of duck? The desire of duck is it longs to go out in the world beyond. The duck feels miserable. The duck wishes to go beyond the world, to go beyond its natural habitat. Now this is a comparison between the duck's life and the kangaroo's life, and it is the wish and the desire of kangaroo that it want to hop like the kangaroo. It want to move around the places just like the way a kangaroo does. So the duck says this to the kangaroo. What? That it has become very boring and disgusting for the duck to live in that nasty pond. It want to go out in the world beyond, and it want to hop around just like a kangaroo. The duck says this to the kangaroo. In the stanza number 2, the conversation is continued. The duck made a request to the kangaroo. Now let's see what is the request which is made by the duck. Please give me a ride on your back, said the duck to the kangaroo. I will sit quite still and say nothing but quack the whole of the long day through, and we would go to the deep and jelly leaf over the land and over the sea. Please take me a ride, oh do, said the kangaroo, said the duck to the kangaroo. Now in this whole stanza, there is a request which is made by duck. As we have seen in the stanza number 1, that duck feel disgusting by living in a limited area, restricted area, and it wants to go out the world beyond. It wants to move around and hop like a kangaroo, but it wouldn't. So, therefore, in the second stanza, the duck makes a request to kangaroo, and that request is to give it a ride on the back of the kangaroo. And the duck further gives assurance that when that ride will be given to it, it will sit quite still. It will not disturb the riding. It will not say anything, but it will quack. Quacking is a sound that is produced by duck. So, here is the assurance that is given by the duck, that it will not disturb the journey, it will not disturb the riding, and it will not say anything except quacking. It will produce only quacking sound, and all the day it will be likewise quiet and silent, and both of them, they will be moving and hopping around throughout the day. And then the duck speaks about 2 imaginary places. That place are the deep and jelly leaf. These are the 2 imaginary places where the duck and the kangaroo would go. And furthermore, say that they will hop over the land and over the sea. So that tells us, or that gives us a description about their hopping around the water bodies and so many places upon the earth. And this is what the duck wished for. This is what the intention of a duck riding on the back of a kangaroo. Said, please take me a ride, said the duck to the kangaroo. The whole thing is here. The duck wanted a ride on the back of a kangaroo because the duck cannot hop like kangaroo. So it wanted the kangaroo. It said to kangaroo that it would take him on a ride on his back. Let's see the response of kangaroo on the request of duck. In stanza number 3, let me read out this. Said the kangaroo to the duck, this requires some little reflection. Perhaps on the whole, it might bring me luck. And there seems but one objection, which is, if you will let me speak so bold, your feet are unpleasantly wet and cold, and probably give me the rule. Matisse said the kangaroo. Now here in this stanza number 3 is the response of kangaroo on the request of the duck. What was the request which was made by the duck? That duck wanted to have a ride on the back of kangaroo. Now here is the response of kangaroo. See here, the kangaroo says that it requires some little reflection. That means he required to think over the matter. He required to contemplate and think on the request of the duck. And in the third line, the kangaroo says, perhaps riding the duck on its back would bring him a luck. But there is one objection. There is one disagreement. There is one unwillingness. Why? Because the kangaroo wants to say his objection, or he wanted to object the riding of duck on his back. And this objection he will say when he is allowed to speak boldly. And he speaks boldly indeed. And he says that your feet are unpleasantly wet and cold. Duck, since you live in the pond, you live in the water, your feet may be wet and cold. And that's the trouble. And if the kangaroo would give a ride to the duck, it can trouble him. It can give him trouble, says the kangaroo. Now, one objection that is raised by the kangaroo, that the feet of the duck are cold and wet, and it can cause trouble to the kangaroo. We will see the next stanza, stanza number 4. I'm going to read it out for you. Said the duck, as I sat on the rocks, I have thought over that completely, and I bought 4 pairs of worsted socks, which fit my wet feet neatly. And to keep out the cold, I have bought a cloth, and every day a cigar I will smoke, or to follow my own true love for a kangaroo. In this stanza, here is the solution which the duck has found out. The objection that was raised by Kangaroo, that your feet are wet and cold and it travels while riding it on the back. So the duck says that he contemplated over the matter. He had a thought on that matter completely, sitting on the rocks. This duck began to think on the matter, began to ponder on the matter. What could be done so that its feet could not be wet and cold? And then the duck came up with a conclusion. Now, what was that conclusion? What was that remedy? What was that solution? Let's see. I have bought 4 pairs of rusted socks in order to keep its feet away from cold, or in order to keep its feet warm. It has bought 4 pairs of socks. You can also see in the winter season, we used to put on socks that keeps our legs or that keeps our feet warm. So here is the solution that is, developed or that is brought by the duck, that it bought 4 pairs of rusted socks. Then these socks fits very neatly to its wet feet, and then to keep out the cold, I have bought a cloak. Now, a cloak is just like a quilt or a blanket. So, first thing, it has bought 4 pairs of socks to keep its feet warm. And second thing, to get rid of cold, it has bought a blanket or a cloak or a quilt by which it can keep itself warm. And what else? And every day a cigar I will smoke. Now this is something very, something very unique. Some people used to smoke in the winter time because they think that smoking will keep them warm. So, to keep itself warm, the duck now bought cigar and it will smoke every day. And then the duck says all these things are being done so that it could follow its desire for the ride on the back of the duck. Now, why the duck is doing so many things? So that it can keep itself warm and be fully ready for the ride on the back of a kangaroo. And if it will be warm, then only the kangaroo would allow for a ride. In the 5th stanza, the poet gives us the description about their ride. They go for a ride. Let me read out this for you. Said the kangaroo, I'm ready, all in the moonlight pale, but to balance me well, dear duck, sit steady and quiet at the end of my tail. So away they went with a hope and a bound, and they hoped the whole world 3 times around. And who so happy, or who as the duck and the kangaroo? Now Now in this sentence, the kangaroo finally gets ready. The kangaroo finally gets agree to the request made by duck and says that I'm ready for the ride and I'm ready to take you on my back. And it was the moonlight day. It was the time in the moonlight. And there is one thing that the kangaroo asked the duck to do. What was that thing? To balance the weight of the body during the ride, the kangaroo asked, "Dear duck, you should sit steady without movement or without causing any disturbance and quiet at the end of the tail." Now it is to balance their movement or balance the body of kangaroo during the time of hopping. So kangaroo here asked the duck to sit quietly and steadily at the end of the tail. And immediately the duck climbed and sit on the end of the tail, and both of them, they went out with a hope and a bound. And immediately after that, they started their ride together, and they rode the whole world 3 times around. When the duck was sitting on the back of kangaroo, it could see the world, it could see many places, and it is returned that they have taken 3 times around the world. That literally means they have gone to many places 3 times, at the same place 3 times. Now at the last, the poet asked, who is so happy with this ride? The kangaroo or the duck? Who is so happy? Now here is a question that is raised by the poet. After the ride, who will be happy? The duck or the kangaroo?